Thank you, Nkirote. I want to practice my little Swahili that I know, so I will say jambo, and I will say habari yako. Don't laugh at my accent. So I'm learning Swahili from my 6.5-year-old son. And every time he comes from school and he has Swahili class, he will tell me the words he learned and I'll repeat them. I am from Senegal. Does anybody know where Senegal is? Yes? Where is it? In West Africa. It's the westernmost country in Africa. You see the wings to fly map? That round part, it's where the roundness is. It's a small country, not as big as Kenya, but a well-known country in Africa, because it links Africa to the rest of the world as well. So, good morning. My name is Codou Diaw, and I am a lifelong learner. I just told you that I learn Swahili. I've lived in Kenya for a little while, and haven't had time to actually take classes. So I'm learning from my toddler son, who is in first grade, first year of primary school. So you may want to know what is the point in talking about lifelong learning. Lifelong learning is the ongoing and voluntary and self-motivated act of learning at all stages of your life. Nkirote told you that I have a doctorate in education and gender, and I've studied cultures and languages around the world. But I am still learning. Every single day, I make it a point to learn something new. That's what lifelong learning is all about. It's a mindset. Lifelong learning can happen in the classroom, of course, but we are not in the classroom for the rest of our lives. It can happen informally at home. That's where we first learn whatever we learn in life. In the course of daily activities, we learn. That's what lifelong learning is about. In interactions with other people, from our own culture, from other cultures, we learn from them, and they learn from us. So lifelong learning can be formal, but it also can be non-formal. It's about also acquiring skills, the skills that you need. Learning how to cook is part of lifelong learning. Learning how to survive when we are not at home and mommy and daddy are not there is part of lifelong learning. So you are scholars, you are bright, talented young people who are very good at school. But what I want to talk about today is more about what you learn outside of school and what you augment what you learn outside of school with. In countries such as the US, where I studied and lived for a long time, you sometimes hear people talk about continuing education. That is what lifelong learning is about. Usually, when we hear those words, we think of, older people, my age, with gray hair, going back to study this, that, or the other. But, you never stop learning, because when you stop learning, you don't grow anymore. So young and old need to continue acquiring knowledge, acquiring skills. And they can do it in forms of workshops, seminars, learning how to do things with their hands or with our hands, or obtaining a certificate. So in general, lifelong learning will help you acquire the skills and competencies you need in order to be a good professional. You heard the previous speaker talk about learning and creating jobs and the future of work, right? Work is changing. The way we work today will probably be very different from the way we work in 10 years or 20 years. Why? Because there are so many advances in life, so many advances in technology, in science, that allow people to be freed up to do other things than just using their hands. She just talked about the self-driving car and not doing manual work anymore, etc. So part of your lifelong learning is to be able to catch up with the new things that will be coming up in life in general. This is a bit too small. I hope some of you can read it. But for you as young scholars, you may think, you know, I graduate from school, I go to college or university, or I go to a TVET institution, and then I'm done. But in fact, graduation is actually the start, the beginning of your learning throughout the rest of your life. Schooling is one form of learning. We know that. It provides you with the foundations you need in order to do calculus and math and to learn basic skills in language, to communicate. But lifelong learning is about knowing and what you do with the knowledge and the know-how that you acquire. You acquire them to solve problems, to improve unwanted situations, to contribute to the betterment of your life, of your family's life, of your community's life, and your country's life. Most of the learning we do happens outside of the classroom. We just said that. So every single day you wake up and go about your business, have in your mind that you are going to learn something new today. So we need to make an effort to do that. We need to strive to augment the skills that we know, the competencies that we have throughout our lives. I'll give you an example. After I had my PhD and worked for many years leading an organization that covered all of Africa, promoting the education of young people like yourselves, especially girls, I decided I was getting old, I was having gray hair, and I wanted to have a baby. So I left my job, not because I couldn't work anymore, but I needed to focus on having a baby. I had to learn about what babyhood was all about. So I went and learned and worked at having a baby, and I had the baby. While I was pregnant, I did not just stay home. My lifelong learner self could not stay a month or two without going to seek more knowledge. So as I was pregnant, the language for the country I was living in, Germany, Switzerland, I learned a bit of German. But by the time I gave birth to I had a 2-month-old baby. I had registered to actually study some more at the University of Geneva. She said, 2-month-old baby, I can combine taking care of my child and going to learn something new. My classmates, who were much younger than I, were amused, but they also saw something different. That this person, who was considered to have done all the schooling she could do, felt that I had things to learn, and I went to be. That is not a skill you're born with. You learn how to do it, right? So just to give you, but it also happens daily in the little things that you do, the interactions that you have. And the people you know, such as your parents, your relatives, your siblings, teach you something new every day. So have an open mind, right? In order to acquire, your generation basically has a lot of information. You have access to the internet, you go to Google, you look at Facebook daily, you have YouTube, you have all these various social media and also search engines. I want to know, compared to our generation, who didn't have all of these things, are you using that opportunity wisely? Are you learning from this rather than being, stop speaking. Somebody said, and it's billed to be a Chinese proverb, that learning is a trend that will follow nobody around you to teach you, learn and a lifelong learner. You be able to take care of yourself, that make you understand how things work. Curiosity is the root of knowledge acquisition. So when you're a lifelong learner, seeker, you ask questions and you look for answers anywhere, everywhere you can. So as young people, naturally young people are curious. But as you grow older, you become a teenager, young people, just like I used to be, tend to kind of withdraw and think that they know it all. Mommy and daddy or uncle or grandma cannot tell them anything new. But this is the stage where you are in, that you can actually open your mind, use your curiosity to learn more, acquire more information, more knowledge, more know-how. To be a lifelong learner, you have to be open-minded. If you are close to new ideas, you say, I only know my village, I only know A, and that's how life is, you likely will not be a lifelong learner. But the fact that you guys, have left your communities, you have gone to boarding schools, you learn from each other every day, I think the more you interact with others, the more your mind opens up to other things. The previous speaker also spoke about, being able to learn new things, right? So when you're open-minded, not only do you have great ideas, but you also seek new ideas all the time. You seek new ways of doing things. One example is, let's say in class, the teacher says something, you don't understand it. Do you stay in your corner and say, well, this is too difficult, I don't know it? No. You turn to your neighbor and say, do you know what the teacher say? Can you explain to me? They may explain, or they may say, I don't know either. But when you leave that classroom, you probably have in the back of your mind this thing that you didn't understand from the teacher. Maybe you run to the teacher and say, teacher, can you explain to me further? Or you'll go and look in a book. Maybe your textbook has some of that information. So open-mindedness and curiosity will help increase your knowledge and are the drivers for your learning. Well, it also requires, to be a lifelong learner, to have drive and to persevere. Perseverance is that when you start something, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how hard and complex it is, you will always make the effort to continue learning about it. You will not give up early. You will stick to what you're doing, what you're learning, until you achieve the results that you want. So drive and perseverance are characteristics of somebody who's a lifelong learner. Well, again, people who are critical thinkers, people who are questioning everything, analyzing, trying to understand how things work, usually are lifelong learners. All scientists start by asking questions. I think previous speakers have told you about the importance of STEMs. Many of my colleagues who came before talked about science, mathematics, technology. All of those require a mind that is critical, a mind that can put two and two together, that can seek, that can try to understand, that can resolve problems using your brain. Well, another thing, an avid reader. Somebody who reads a lot is usually a lifelong learner. How does that work? The more you read, the more your mind is open. We talked about open-mindedness. The more you read, the more you want to know. The more you read, be it a novel, be it a newspaper, be it a textbook, reading has something that is special, that makes you want to get more information, more knowledge. It transports you. When you read novels, for example, you can put yourself in the shoes of the protagonist. You can put yourself in the landscape that are described. You can put yourself in the context and the environment where the characters of the novels are. So being an avid reader also opens up your mind and trains your mind to seek more knowledge, hence making you a lifelong learner. Resourcefulness. Usually people who are lifelong learners, they're resourceful. They go and seek information. They use all the means at their disposal to learn something new. So as a lifelong learner, you will always find a way to know more, understand better, know how to do better, improve. If you don't have these attributes, and they're not exhaustive, there are many other attributes of a lifelong learner, but if you don't have these attributes, I urge you to start cultivating them, to start working on acquiring them. If you have some of them, that's beautiful. If you want to acquire the others, work on it. It takes work. Do not wait for it to come. Sometimes it doesn't come naturally. But if you have curiosity, it may lead to the others. If you like reading, it may open up your mind and push you to go seek more books. Anyway, all these attributes form the characteristics that make you the lifelong learner. You may want to ask, why do we want, young Africans to learn eternally? We want jobs. We want to finish school. Remember we said, learning is not just about schooling. Learning is beyond schooling. It never ends. So let me tell you something. In Africa, 60% of the population is under 25 years of age. That's the majority of the continent is filled with young people. By 2033, Africa will be home to more than one quarter of the world's population that is under 25. That's huge. But you can't just stop at schooling. The schools that we go to most often in Africa, compared to maybe other continents, do not equip you for the 21st century skills that you need in order to get into the world of work. And with the world of work, I mean both getting a job or creating a job. By the time you leave school, you as a teenager, as many as 2/3 of those who have entered primary school, who are entering primary school today, will not have the skills that are needed for the job if they continue learning in the school system the way they do. So, of course, the onus is on African governments, African schools to change the way you learn, but the onus is also on you to actually do more to get the skills that you require in order to be an active citizen, an active member of society. So beyond the classroom, this is one of the reasons why you need to learn. Of course, you learn to also develop yourself. You learn to improve, your aptitudes. You learn to become a better human being, of course. But you also learn in order to be able to be competent in the job that you do, to be able to be marketable on the job market, or to create your own employment and hire other people. So this is a crisis that Africa is in. It's both an opportunity and a challenge, But I think the youth, you guys, the youth of today, and your younger siblings will be the ones who will resolve these problems, because you would have your mind set on learning, creating, doing something new, finding solutions. And you can only do that if you continuously upgrade your skills. Who do you learn from? We talked about it. We talked about family, teachers at the school, elders in the community, peers, and other role models. But you also learn from good old-fashioned books, from radio. Do you know radio? Whoever here listens to the radio? Does anyone listen to the radio here? Okay, because when we were young, your age, we used to listen to the radio all the time. But the radio is now replaced by what? By the phone. You watch everything on the phone, right? Television is a source if you actually look at the right programs, not just about the dancing and the latest star. Use television to watch documentaries, for example. Podcasts, since we are talking technology, some of you might say, what are podcasts? They already outdated for some of you. But those and other videos online, and I'm not just talking about YouTube, there are other things that you can do, physical videos that you can put in machines and CD-ROMs to learn all kinds of things that may be available in your libraries at school. So, other ways of learning, this, as our previous speakers said, are about using the internet wisely. We talk about open source education. Open source education is all over the place, but many of you probably go on the internet and never go to seek the right type of information. You're going for, again, pop culture, who is famous, who wears what, who has the nicest hairdo, and who does the best makeup. But do you know that digital literacy, digital fluency, is one of the cornerstones of lifelong learning for your generation? Unless you are digitally savvy, that you can navigate, learn how to use the computer intelligently, and use the digital platforms that exist for you to grab and learn and get new information and knowledge, you are probably wasting your time online. So let me just speak about certain websites that you could go to. You know about vocabulary.com? If you don't, go and visit it next time you have a bundle and you can go on the internet. Vocabulary.com can help you increase your word base and help you understand what words mean and how you can use them in context. Coursera is another one. It's free access. Well, for some part is for paying, but the other parts that actually cater to your generation and to secondary school students, many of the tools there can be used to increase your learning outside of the classroom, in addition to what your teachers teach you. Khan Academy is another one. My daughter, who's your age, she's finishing high school this year, goes to Khan Academy all the time. She has developed good learning skills, and she goes by herself to seek some information. She's the one who told me about Khan Academy as a good resource. edX or MIT Open Learning, all of those platforms, and there are many more that are free for you to use, can help you with your math courses, with English courses, with geography, with any subject that you study in school. One well-known promoter of lifelong learning and using digital tools said, if you have a system of education using computers, then anyone, any age, can learn by himself, can continue to be interested. If you enjoy learning, there's no reason why you should stop. So again, we're talking about learning throughout your life, but making use of these digital tools will augment, increase your knowledge base and can teach you other things to do with your hands or with your mind. So what is the value of life learning, long life learning, you'll ask me? Well, it helps you acquire skills, new skills, or reinforce the skills that you have, or reskill you. When you hear about reskilling, that means that maybe you studied a little bit, but it wasn't appropriate or adapted to the environment. Like what we learned or how we learned is not the way that your generation learns. So lifelong learning can help reskill you. It can also help upskill you, ABOC, but then ABOC is no longer useful, or it just is not enough for the job that you require to do. Upskilling you can do both in the workplace, but you can competencies, the know-how that you have. It can help you also grow into your job or enter new areas in your operation. Both your teachers, because many of your teachers would love to teach you these skills, but they're not trained that way. So the governments, of course, will need to make an effort to train teachers in ICT, but you yourselves who were born with it, it's like you were born and have the phone and can do anything with the phone. I can see it with my young son. You also need to be fluent, but fluent intelligently. Don't go on the internet looking at all the wrong things on the internet. It's not useful, it's a waste of time. And you know how addictive those are, right? So be addicted to learning good things. Be addicted to knowing about good things. Be addicted to acquiring new skills. So the value of lifelong learning is that it nurtures your brain, it nurtures your mind, it helps you get also certain skills, because the more you interact with new information, you can also develop emotional intelligence, learning about psychology, for example. You can develop critical thinking, which is key nowadays. You can develop problem solving by learning how others solve problems. But also, lifelong learning helps you to adapt to new things. Language is one example. It's so easy nowadays to find software that help you learn other languages. Do you know that knowing another language opens up a new world for you of opportunities? A world where you can move about the world, actually. Leave your country is also key to lifelong learning. And also you can learn about your industry, if you're interested in mechanical engineering. If you want to know about how to build certain things, you can also do so. On a capable, an adaptable, and a flexible human being and a worker. I would like to ask the technician to play one of the links, the top link, in this new slide. I'm not sure where I'd like you to watch this video just to reinforce a little bit what we've been talking about. And then we can come back. I have 3. Time is not on our side, so if you wish, you can vote for it. We can watch another one. But the first one might actually sum up, give you a summary of what I've been sharing with you. Is that possible, technician? Maybe you can click on enable hyperlink. Yes. Oh, you can go to, I don't know, right click and then do enable. Okay. If you could just play it, that would be great. Is that possible? Not within the slide, but online. Is that possible? please do. Thank you. Before we do that then, while they are working on the technical issue, I'd like to move to my last slide, and it's rather small. So I will ask you guys to say these things with me. This is a promise you make to yourself, a promise that you will keep in mind every day, a promise that you will become a lifelong learner if you are not already one. Please say with me, I will make learning a deliberate, intentional choice in my life. I will have a learning plan at every stage of my life. I will remain motivated to learn something new every day outside of the classroom. I will seek out information and knowledge that makes me grow as a human being. I will access free online digital learning platforms and tools every chance I get. I will strive to acquire new skills and competencies beyond what I learn in school. I will have fun while I learn. I hope you can integrate this and keep saying it to yourself every single day. Remind yourself that you have the power to become a lifelong learner. Let's watch the video. Thank you very much.
Everyone believes in lifelong learning, right? But today, there's so much to keep up on, and there's so many new ways to learn. Plus, it's not always easy to stay in the learner mode once you leave school. That's because the real world, it's structured in the doing mode. But when it comes down to it, you still need to stay smart about doing things. Like learning the newest tools and knowing what would make work easier. Or finding a way to make a difference in your community. Even figuring out things like how to fix your car. The challenge? Staying in the mindset of a learner after you graduate. That's hard. You can never become complacent, though. You have to keep learning. See, that's what's good about college. It's not like you're going to remember everything you learn. But you take away how to learn. How to ask questions. How to keep asking them until you find answers. Where to find good sources. And how to find information you can trust. Ultimately, college prepares you to always be curious. How to acquire knowledge and new skills for the rest of a lifetime.
If we could play the second one. Do you know Bill Clinton? Have you ever heard of Bill Clinton? Yeah, who is he? Who is Bill Clinton? Former President of the United States. So I'd like us to watch Bill Clinton talk about lifelong learning. Now, mind you, he's gray-haired, have done so many things in his life. Is that the right one? Has achieved the highest accomplishment in life. But listen to him talk about
goals, quality education.
Can we not use that one, please? Let's go to the other link. Just so we have more time to talk, to chit-chat a little bit. But you get the point, right? Lifelong learning, we talk about it, we can look at it from many angles, we can discuss it day in, day out, but it boils down to using the talent and the mind that you have to acquire new things and learn new skills. Okay, technology. Who are the tech whizzes in this room? Can anybody help solve that problem? Well, if we can't play it, maybe we should move to questions if you have any. And then if it happens to work, then we can get some inspiration from Mr. Bill Clinton. Do you have any questions, scholars?
Lifelong learning is the ongoing, voluntary, and self-motivated pursuit of knowledge for either personal development, but also self-sustainability, as well as competitiveness and employability. The concept of lifelong learning was in 1993. The term recognizes that learning is not confined to childhood or the classroom, but
online and just Google lifelong learning, you'll get a lot of inspiring videos. I'm sorry that we couldn't get to the one from Bill Clinton. Hopefully we can find it later on. If you have access to the internet, just go and Google it. Bill Clinton, lifelong learning. You will see a very, very nice video where he sums it up really well. If you have any questions, I'll be very happy to answer your questions.
Scholars, are you there? If you have a question, can you run to the mic? We'll take a few so that we can save time. Okay, I see one. Any other?